Welcome back to another Hog Hoops report with the one, the only Kevin McPherson and Courtney Mims. I'm back for another week with you, Kevin. I'm so excited that we get to talk some Hog Hoops, especially since I had a lot of people in my DMs this week asking, when is basketball season? I said, don't you worry, guys. It's October 1st, which means basketball season is almost here. I can taste it in the air. I'm so excited. And you know what made me even more excited, Kevin, was getting to see the Hogs practicing this past week. First official practices for the Hogs in the books. And we got to go see them on what day was it? Thursday of last week. They had an open practice. So, Kevin, I know a lot of people want to know your thoughts. What stood out to you the most in that Hogs open practice?
Well, every time we get to attend these over the years, it's always fast paced, a lot of energy. They get a lot done. So there are no surprises there. I think Musselman's been talking about the fact that this team's further along, 35 years of Division One experience. I had that in a couple of recent articles pointing that out. And he keeps talking about how they've been able to implement more at this stage than in previous years. So when you get to see firsthand guys out there communicating, you know, to me, both frontline and backcourt, I've been saying that I think positionally, these guys may be the most diverse group and deepest group that Musselman's had. And so when you see it play out before your eyes in some ways, especially the full contact 5-on-5 scrimmaging, you really start to see, yeah, this is a veteran guy because of the decisions guys are making on their reads, their confidence level in what they're doing. So you see more of that, I think, this year than I've seen before. Not that I'm surprised by it, because I've kind of felt like that might be it. But until you see it, you don't really know how that starts to translate. Obviously, this is early October, first day. There's a lot more to go on here. But yeah, I think, from that standpoint, I think some of the 3-point shooting and how Arkansas got into some of that in that scrimmage work, not just drills. Drills can be deceiving, but in the scrimmage part, some of that 5-on-5 really kind of revealed to me things Arkansas might try to do to stretch defenses out for once after the last 2 years just dismal, ranked in the 300s in Division One in 3-point shooting.
I know. And we're going to talk about that 3-point shooting for sure, because I have some guys that I want to mention to you because everyone wants to know how the players look, Kevin. How do the players look? I know a big question mark going into this season. Trevin Brazil coming back from that injury last year that was a season-ending one. Now he's rejuvenated, ready to go. I know in Musselman's interview, he said, look, the timetable, you asked him, Kevin, he said, the timetable, we'd like to see him, 2.5 weeks, be ready to rock and roll. But look, he looked great in that first practice. I was even reading your notes. He was looking like Trevin Brazil. Can you talk about him a little bit?
I agree. And I think it's just being, I'm not going to say overly cautious. They have a plan. You got to trust that as well. And so, but there was some limited drill. There was some drill work. He didn't do the live scrimmaging. We know that. Musselman said he's done a little bit, maybe last week, maybe some 3-on-3 live, not the 5-on-5 like we saw Thursday. But I think what we did see in drill work, and there were drills where he was having to, they were like the dribble handoff, pick and roll drills, defensive drills where he's got to not only stay with his man, but potentially switch or hedge, close out, then track back with his man, backpedal. These are reactionary drills. So it's not just about a guy who's got it, maybe gaining his confidence. When we look at the dunk reels, right? He's having no problems getting to the rim. But when you have a knee injury, a lot of times it's how confident are you in reacting defensively to where the offensive player is going, because you're not making decisions on where you go as much as you're reacting to what someone else is doing. And that's a lot of time where that mental blockage comes in for players and they struggle some defensively. I thought in the drill work, Courtney, he responded and looked good to me. I thought he looked sharp for most of what we got to see him do. I would have loved to see him in the live scrimmaging, but look, this is one practice. We're going to talk about the October game 3 dress rehearsals coming up, because this timeline that you talked about with Brazil gets kind of tricky with when will we see him, if at all, during the dress rehearsal portion here that plays out through October?
Absolutely. And we are going to talk about those dress rehearsals that Kevin is talking about there, those exhibition games. I know a lot of people excited about those coming up, especially that one with Purdue. We're going to talk about that. But I want to bring up some other guys because you mentioned that 3-point shooting. And that was something we saw in practice. Joseph Pinion, man, whoo, knocking down threes like nobody's business. We knew he was good, but I feel like he got better over this past summer and going into this season. Jeremiah Davenport also knocking down some threes. You had some other guys that were showing up. Jalen Graham. Talk about some of those guys that really
Yeah.
looked good and improved their game from last season to this year.
Yeah, Pinion's a guy you could tell he's gotten stronger. He had a bad knee injury in high school, and I thought he was on a trajectory when he suffered that knee injury at Morrilton, where he was showing me national top 50 high school prospect stuff. And it was slow going for him to not only recover, get back on the court, played for a year on a knee brace. I really think last year as a true freshman, playing behind the 3 one and dones, the 5-star guys, he was Arkansas sneaky. He was Arkansas by percentage, small sample size, Courtney, but you're right. He's improved. But last year, he was by percentage Arkansas's best 3-point shooter. And he applied that to games that matter. He got a couple of opportunities when Arkansas looked like a sinking ship because they couldn't make shots. Defense is packing in against Missouri at home, Ole Miss at home. Arkansas fell behind in those games. Pinion helped dig that team out of a hole because of his 3-point shooting, scored 13 points in each of those games, shot it well, but he spaced the floor. It changed the dynamic for Arkansas. So you see what he did in practice on a team that I think now, with the way it's constructed, it's going to be better at 3-point shooting. Joseph Pinion at least planted his flag in that 45-minute window we saw
Love
and said,
that.
hey, I'm that guy. It wasn't just the drill work. When they got in that live 5-on-5, I think the Red had a stretch where they scored like 5 in a row. They were behind because of Pinion. They had to come back. You talked about Davenport on those deep catch and shoot, but Pinion not only knocking down threes, Courtney, he had a sweet baseline drive where he got walled off kind of under the basket, bad angle, and instead of forcing a bad pass or a contorted layup, he just pivoted back away a little bit from the basket where he could get a clean angle and flip the ball in the basket. He had another run baseline behind a defender on a backdoor cut into that dunker spot, caught a pass, and had no problem getting to the rim and
Ooh.
punching it home. So I love Pinion. You mentioned Graham. We saw some of that work where he puts the ball out, gets it high, puts it on the floor, gets inside that free throw line extend, and then he goes to work. Left, right, spin, pivot, get to the basket. Sometimes he gets a little tunnel vision on his own offensive move. I really want to see him kind of look up and maybe find a cutter. This is going to be a better 3-point shooting team like we talked about. Kick it out. But when he does make a determination and he's locked in on that goal, he's pretty effective finishing. You mentioned Davenport, just the catch and shoot, just cooking from deep. I really like what I see from Trayman Mark and Devo Davis. I think these guys come into this thing all SEC defense worthy and potentially more. We know Devo can be effective as a scorer and a slasher. He was a better 3-point shooter last year. Arkansas's best 3-point shooter in the rotation when you look at it percentage-wise. And then Mark, I think, is just going to be an all-around excellent player, like another all-league type of guy. And we didn't even talk about Khalif Beidel and El Ellis, who weren't really looking for their own offense as much on Thursday. But, that's just one portion of one practice. And I've heard a lot of good things about those guys as well.
Oh, absolutely. I covered El Ellis since he was playing in the Panhandle on my first gig, and I've gotten to see him through his collegiate career at every level. And it's kind of cool to see it full circle for me, watching a guy like that apply all of this basketball IQ and all this basketball knowledge to the Razorbacks. I mean, he's going to be a stud as well, I believe. But we could talk about for hours on all of these guys. And like you said, it's a small sample size. We're going to get, hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of these guys, and especially coming up in those exhibition games. But first, the red-white game. That is coming up this week, Kevin, on Wednesday. I'm so excited for that game. I know it's just this intra-squad scrimmage, but it's so fun, and it's fun for the fans, and they get to play it, over on campus, and in Barnhill, and I love that. What do you hope to see from that red-white game? Is it the new guys? Do you want to see some from the freshmen? We didn't talk at all about Layden Blocker and Bay Fall. What do you want to see from that game?
Yeah, it's always interesting because in the past it's kind of been a track meet. Under Musselman, they really have tried to run their stuff and play the way that they're going to play during the season. And so, you're splitting the roster up. So you don't have a real good idea about rotations or how guys might play together because you've got half the roster playing against the other half. We just talked about Brazil's timeline. He's likely not going to be playing in this if we believe that 2.5-week timeline on live scrimmaging, then he's not going to be doing this. I don't think that he will be based on that timeline. I wonder about Mekhi Mitchell. So it might be a lot more about guys like Graham, Devo Davis, and Joseph Pinion in terms of 3 of the 5 returnees. So it's going to be the vast majority is going to be newcomers. There's 9 of them. We get to see guys like Bayfall, Layden Blocker. We didn't talk about Layden because he didn't practice while we were there. He was having his wisdom teeth extracted that day. Bayfall did some excellent stuff in practice. I didn't talk about that. One possession in that live scrimmaging, he challenged a shot in the paint, tracked down, altered it, tracked down. It was a bad miss. He tracked down the defensive rebound on the other side of the goal from where he defended, and then immediately threw ahead. Arkansas got in transition. Musselman talked, they want to run more. That's one of the things I want to see in this red-white game. How often are they going to look to take those opportunities to get in transition? I thought last year's team was going to be good in transition, wasn't nearly as good as I thought it would be. I think this team has a chance to be better because it can also shoot from 3. That factors into your transition game when guys can flare out to the wings. And now guys trying to get back on defense have to worry about not only stopping a shot on goal, but what's this guy going to do out here, Davenport or Pinion or Battle or somebody else, and torching me from 3. So I think it opens up your run game. But Fall, after that shot contest, rebound, threw ahead quickly. Chandler Lawson, another front court guy, 6'7", well, that 7+ wingspan, might be 7'3", 7'4", threw ahead to Pinion. Pinion threw the lob pass for a dunk. We'll be looking to see how, what does Arkansas do at its run game? What are some of these newcomers? El Ellis, you talked about him, was the junior college leading scorer before he went to Louisville, was Louisville's leading scorer. He was their leading assist guy. His 4.5 assists last year would have led Arkansas. Kudos to Anthony Black for being the floor guy, the floor leader, but I think El Ellis could have helped Arkansas there too.
Absolutely.
But he's a guy that didn't look for his shot on Thursday. Are we going to look for him to cook and get some shots up in this red-white game? I want to see more Khalif Battle. He's a guy that missed the end of limited practices, got back, just a few weeks ago, missed some of the work they did when they first got back in August. So he was a little quiet the other day. Does he step up and fire some shots up? I do think they'll try to run and get into their stuff defensively and offensively, but red-white games are always fun because you get to see everybody play who's available. And a lot of the guys will get some stats in this game and can build some confidence off of this and have some carryover when they get back to practice and get into those last 2 actual exhibition games later in October.
Yeah, that's a great segue, Kevin, because I'm going to ask you about those exhibition games. You've got 2 coming up at the end of October, one against UT Tyler and the other one, which a lot of people have circled on their calendar. I know a lot of people who are going to that matchup, the charity exhibition game against Purdue. Can you give us a little bit on these 2 matchups and kind of what the Razorbacks should be doing against these 2 teams and what you want to see from them in those games?
Yeah, Texas Tyler on October 20th. That's around the time that Brazil's supposed to be maybe returning for the going live full contact. So does he play in that game? I still wonder if he makes it in time to compete in that game. But also, I think when you get into exhibition season, Arkansas should win that game handily. They've struggled against Division II in previous years, though, and had to come back, and games were closer than you thought, so you never know. But I do think Musselman might start to – I think everybody will play, but I think also you might start to see some minutes in top rotation rear its head a little bit. Maybe not, but maybe it does. And then Purdue, just like Texas on the road last year, Arkansas stayed close at the break and got drilled in the second half. Purdue's going to be projected likely to win the Big Ten. A lot of players back. Edey, the big man, the 7 foot plus big man that's, going to be in conversation for player of the year again in college basketball. So this is a team that will give Arkansas a challenge, and it's good. It doesn't count on your record. It doesn't count on your official record or later on your net rankings and things like that, but it does give you a better look at what your guys can and can't do, and maybe some tweaks you need to make and where your team stands going in the regular season that starts about a week after that on November 6th at home against Alcorn State. So I think both are big dress rehearsals for different reasons, especially even though they've got 5 returnees, you do have the 9 newcomers, and you're still bringing along Brazil and even to some degree Makai Mitchell a little more slowly after they missed all summer. For the most part. And so I think it gives you some answers about other guys that might be newcomers on that front line.
Yeah, and like you said, it gives maybe Musselman still has some questions about the rotation and things like that. We know he likes to get a lot of guys involved. And how can you not with this year's talent on this year's team? I mean, I had somebody ask me in summer, who do I think the starting 5 would be? And I've changed it 6 times since then. I'm like, wait, it could be this, depending on if you're playing this way.
Yeah.
So I feel like these are 2 great games to start off with, exhibition games. You find out a lot about this year's team. Musselman gets some more questions answered for him, maybe rotation-wise, and then we go into that regular season in November. Whoo, I cannot wait, Kevin. Really quickly, before we run out of time, I know you want to talk a little bit about recruiting. Shameless
Yes.
plug. We did an interview this Monday with a recruit, Yoshi Nemo. I got to remember to say it right. I keep wanting to say the Nemo, but it's Yoshi Nemo. And he is over in
Yeah.
Japan right now playing pro basketball. That interview was awesome. Go check it out. It is on our website, hogville.net. It was from Monday, so go check that out. But Kevin, I know you have some other recruiting news to update us on.
Well, Isaiah Elohim, class of 2024, 6'5" wing, Sierra Canyon. We're getting close to his announcement time based on what he told me. Early in the week, he dropped his final 3 schools: Kansas, Villanova, Arkansas. He's visited all 3. Arkansas was his last visit just a few weeks ago. We had a big article at Hogville and KNWA, Pig Trail Nation, where he got a lot of great quotes about everything he loves about Arkansas: Musselman, the coaching staff, the team, the program. So I think it's really down. Those are his final 3, but he told me early in the week that he was probably going to make an announcement within within a week or 2. So 7 days to 14 days. So we're about the midway point there. We're about at the 7-day mark. So any announcement could come at any time. Of those 3, I really think it's probably down to Villanova and Arkansas. And I favor Arkansas here. I'm not going to predict, 100% and an absolute that he's going to commit to Arkansas, but I think Arkansas might just be in the lead there. And another guard from 2024 that Arkansas was in on and had a visit planned for this coming week, Marquise Passmore. I was another 6'5" wing, Combine Academy in North Carolina. I've been hearing for early in the week through Thursday when we were in Fayetteville for practice that Arkansas that visit might end up being canceled. It went from might to likely won't happen, and sure enough, by Friday, it was announced that the visit had been canceled. He'd replaced the Arkansas visit is now going to be Kansas. So Passmore also on Thursday put out his top 4 teams or final 4: Arkansas, Kansas, LSU, and Oklahoma. I did not report that because I knew that this visit was going to end up being canceled, as it was. And so, Arkansas is out there, but they've already got the commitment from Jalen Shelley. We had an interview with him, by the way, on Pig Trail Nation, where he talked about a commitment as though it was already been done.
We had the
a week
scoop.
before he did it. So he's on board, the 6'8" combo forward from Link Academy. Courtney, I think somehow our interview helped push that needle along. Maybe not.
I think it did. We're going to credit us, right?
We didn't ask for promotions or raises or fanfare, but let's just call it what it is. All right, so Arkansas is already on the board with the top 35 guy with Jalen Shelley, 6'8" combo forward. To me, Isaiah Elohim, I love his game. Strong guard, wing at 6'5", loves to size up dudes, defenders, and get into them with his body. He challenges guys. He can go left or right. He's got a nice pull-up game. And then if you get into him a little bit too much, he's going to just bully through you and get to the rim and show you he can get there all the way. And he's, his 3-point game is developing. He's nice and some catch and shoot stuff I've seen, but I love that strength, that sturdy frame at 6'5", highly confident player, very intelligent young man. I loved interviewing him. But if he comes on board, Arkansas, I think, and I've said it a lot, 2 or 3 players in this class probably. And then they've got Trey Johnson, a 5-star, top 5, class of 2024. One of the best players in the country from DFW, also at Link Academy with Jalen Shelley. He's planning to come in for an official visit on October 20th. And that's when Arkansas has that first exhibition game against Texas Tyler, Division II. Should be there. And then the day after, Arkansas football finally back home against Mississippi State. He should be there. Should be a big weekend with the fans, back in the stadium at Razorback Stadium. He'll have an opportunity to really see the campus life up there in a game day atmosphere. But I think Trey Johnson's a guy you would add and stretch that class maybe to 3 if you can get him. And then we'll see what else plays out, if anything else in 2024. But as far as recruiting goes, I do think for the class, just like last year was a 2-player class, 2, max of 3 probably. There may be a scenario where it could stretch to 4, but right now with Passmore off the board, I don't see it.
Yeah. Kevin, as always, we love having you on the show. And if anyone wants to keep updated, you have the latest recruiting news and everything Arkansas Razorbacks on your Twitter, AR Hoop Scoop. So definitely go ahead and give him a follow over there if you want minute-by-minute updates on everything Arkansas basketball or Arkansas, in general when it comes to high school hoops as well. Related, you have it all right there, AR Hoop Scoop on Twitter. Thank you so much, Kevin, for doing this week. We always appreciate you having you.
It's always fun. Other than me battling a couple of fruit flies going in front of me here and looking
Well, kill
looking
the fruit
crazy
flies.
doing it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we can't see them, so that's all right. That's a good thing for us. Thanks as always, Kevin, and we'll see you next week for another Hog Hoops report.
Thanks, Courtney.